tonight? Yeah. Dad always said like a mom. 1 minute. Don't make me count. Don't make me count. For a while.
Or you probably have to do like I did when they start telling you on their brother. That's my role.
Yeah. Give me one. Okay, we're going to get started. I'm going to have to read a little bit here. We're excited. Thank you all for coming back for the digital inclusion session. This is great. I think we've saved some of the things that we've talked about are super important, and there are a lot of building blocks, and they are fun, but some of this stuff we're about to look at now I think is just kind of geeky fun. So I'm excited for it. We have Chuck Olson here. For you, third year you've come? Yeah, third year. So he is really a virtual reality guy. So I'm going to hand it off, because why would you want to hear from me when you can hear from Mr. Virtual Reality?
Well, for a lot of reasons. Hello, folks. My name is Chuck, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Visual. We're a virtual reality company based in Northeast Minneapolis. Our tagline is virtual reality for a better reality. So I'm here today to talk about how we're bringing VR to seniors. It's a way to bring the world to them when they're, kind of stuck where they are and not necessarily able to get out and see the world. So before I do that, I'm just going to play you a little video that kind of gives you an idea of how that works.
I'm Marianne Fletcher, and I have really loved kind of getting reacquainted with Minnesota Opera. Well, I did look forward to opening night, of course, planning on it, and then a week about 10 days, I guess, before that I had a stroke. And so that kind of took me out of commission. Obviously, for the first 2 days, and certainly opening night, I was not available at all. So I missed all that. I got to go there virtually, and it was wonderful to be able to see it, and I never dreamt that I would be able to see it. All of that. I think I really like seeing the overall aspect of it, having a sense of what really was on the stage, rather than just hitting one thing. I got to be there, something that I would have missed altogether.
So that kind of gives you an idea of what VR can do for folks, particularly seniors who have a lot of barriers. Mobility is often a barrier, certainly physical limitations or mental health limitations, and lack of financial resources. Not everyone can travel the world and see everything that they want to see. So we had a vision of how we could use VR to bring the world to them wherever they are, and improve their wellness. So why VR? Why is VR the right thing, the right solution for that? Basically, I like to say that VR brings the happy. I've got a pretty good job. I get to see people smiling in VR every week. And it really doesn't matter what the age or the background. Almost everyone has a kind of wow, this is really cool experience. And there's a reason for that. It's because VR really does affect your brain more than any medium that's come before. Some of these images are from a University of Washington study that they wanted to answer the question, can VR reduce the pain of treating burn victims? Treating burns is very painful. This gentleman happens to be an Iraq war vet. He's got burns all over his body. So these researchers created a VR experience called Snow World. So you can see there's snowmen, there's igloos. He was able to throw snowballs at them. Everything is very cool, toned, and kind of glacial looking. And what they found was that when he was in Snow World, that he reported feeling pain reduction by as much as 50 to 60%. And that's twice as much as morphine. So that gives you an idea of the power that VR can have over your body and your state of mind. And so that's, we were learned about that research from the University of Minnesota, and we wanted to find out if it has that much of an effect in a clinical kind of context, it must have some good effect on wellness as well, be able to reduce stress and that sort of thing. And so we embarked on a study with Ebenezer, which is the largest senior care provider in Minnesota. We were working with the Minneapolis campus. And we created a product called Wellness VR. And so Wellness VR is a series of immersive 360 scenes filmed in nature. A lot of stuff from northern Minnesota and the North Shore and things like that. Seeing the Lake Superior and feeling the water kind of lapping against the shore and things like that. That's kind of the core of the experiences. There's also travel experiences. You see Stonehenge. We have pandas in China, and the Eiffel Tower, and things like that. So basically a way for you to kind of virtually travel the world. And then we also have arts and culture experiences, because as we all know, the arts and music can be a big part of wellness as well. And y'all remember the Viewmaster. So when we introduced VR to the community at Ebenezer, we brought along Viewmaster and said, who remembers these? Of course, everyone does. They've been around for over 100 years. And that helped them feel comfortable with the new technologies. Like, okay, this is kind of like a new Viewmaster. I'm not going to get too much into technology here today, but this is a typical VR headset. This is a Samsung Gear VR. A Samsung phone plugs into this, and that becomes, those two things together kind of become the experience. So we had a group of about 25 people in different caregiving situations, and they experienced VR for 10 to 15 minute sessions twice a week for 4 weeks, and filled out a questionnaire about how a bunch of questions kind of trying to get at their state of mind and their wellness state. So we worked with a researcher from the University of Minnesota, and I won't get too deep into the study here, but here's the results were really fantastic. Like we knew they would be good, but they were much better than that even. 96% of people reported feeling happier. 97% reported feeling more relaxed, more positive, and less worried. So this was after 4 weeks of VR exposure for twice a week. There were also some carryover effects. Basically, participating in VR, they reported that it enhanced other parts of their lives too. For example, they socialized more. We theorized that they had something more interesting to talk about than who broke their hip this week. It's like, oh, I went to Stonehenge. They felt like they had gone someplace and wanted to talk about it. And again, more reports of feeling reduced nervousness. That's not nervousness about the project or about VR, but kind of nervousness in general. And reports of feeling sad or depressed went down from 18% to 4%. So this is sort of like areas for further study. We're not claiming that VR will make you less depressed. And it's not necessarily the question we were trying to answer with the study, but it does kind of show a lot of promising avenues for further research. So VR is used, it can be used in a lot of different contexts. Since this is not necessarily a senior care audience, I'll say that it actually is not just for seniors, it can be for anybody. So we're talking to libraries, for example. Libraries have senior groups that come in and do activities or have classes. Senior community centers and things like that are good candidates. Since this is a Broadband conference, I will say that so 360 video files are really big, like they can be gigabyte files. Certainly you wouldn't want to be trying to download that if you have that internet. And a lot of senior facilities don't have broadband or they have spotty internet throughout the facility. So we actually had to embed all the content on the devices themselves. So it works out of the box without internet. All the content is preloaded onto the devices, so they don't actually need to worry about internet to use this device. The only reason they would need internet is to, we have a new feature where you can go on a group tour. So let's say you have 5 headsets and you all wanted to go someplace together at the same time. We can synchronize multiple headsets together. That could be in a class kind of situation or a group activity situation. We do need internet for that, but it needs just a trickle. It basically needs to be able to trigger all the headsets at the same time. I'm already coming up on 10 minutes here, but I'll just play one more video here. So this is a video that we filmed while we were doing the study at Ebenezer. So let's hear from the seniors themselves.
Oh, there's a doggy.
It was relaxing. The scenes were all relaxing. Scenes of water. I like water. I used to swim a lot when I was a kid. With this, you can look around and definitely feel like I'm immersed in the scene. If I were feeling tense or something, I could put on the headset and go someplace else.
Oh, now on the beach, ready? Okay, then. Wait, hold on, I'm at the beach. Okay. Well, I felt like I was there, yeah. The actual feeling of being there, the sounds, everything but feeling, because it does make me want to feel like I want to put my foot in the water. I love it. I just love it. Trees all around, really pretty, and somebody evidently has set up a place to just sit and relax.
Do you feel like you're there with them?
Oh, yeah. That's why I like it.
Oh, wonderful.
I just as soon do this 8 hours a day, and because I love traveling, so I'm really enjoying the scenery.
We don't recommend 8 hours a day of VR, but but clearly, some people are ready for it. So that's all I'll talk about for now, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir?
How much is that Samsung Gear these days?
Well, you can go out and buy a Samsung Gear at Best Buy. If you already have the Samsung phone, it's like $90 or $100. To buy it through Wellness VR with all of our content installed, it's of course more than that. It's a subscription service. If you're going to go out and buy a headset and you don't have a Samsung phone, I would recommend the Oculus Go. Those are $200. And there's basically the phone is kind of built into the headset. So that it's a lot simpler. Headphones are built into the strap. There's a ton of fun content out there. So if you're looking to just check something out, either a cardboard at the low end or Oculus Go would be the way to go. Yeah. Yes, sir?
What's your opinion on the bandwidth need for VR? Like the process where I think that people that watch ball games the same way and try to be serious water in the house.
So, you know, it could be maybe like live content or something like that. I get a little bit scared about doing live content in VR. One reason is because of the bandwidth, and if that content were to hesitate or skip or do all the things that happen when you're live streaming something, it's kind of much more jarring to have that happen in VR. So I would really proceed with caution doing something live in VR for live. But how much bandwidth? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I can tell you that a lot of our files could be up to 500 megabytes or a gigabyte for a 5-minute experience. So it kind of depends on the quality. It's kind of that old problem with like you can ratchet down the quality and have a smoother frame rate and less interruptions. So we're trying to deliver the highest quality we can in a video. So you can reduce the kind of data rate that you need for live streaming. But I couldn't give you a specific number, I'm afraid. Anything else? Yeah, so a lot of them are in like a 5 to 10 minute range, partly because of that file size, like we want to have a lot of experiences preloaded. So we have a lot of experiences that are kind of short to medium length. Sometimes you would have like a riverboat ride, it would be like a 10 or 15 minute experience. We can also group different experiences together in a playlist. So if you want to look, really do waterfalls, we can create a playlist of multiple videos that can be basically as long as you want. And you could actually trigger that from your phone. So if you have an individual that's like, I want to watch waterfalls, all afternoon, you could basically put together a playlist for that person that's as long as you want. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, hey, you're great.
I thought you were talking about watching sports games from long gone by, like the time you were the quarterback and you got to relive it time and time again. So thank you very much, Chuck. It's always fun to see how that works. So next we've got Brian from Blandin Communications to talk about the GigaZone Championship that happened last weekend. So hot off the presses.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Brian Bissonette, the marketing supervisor at Blandin Communications. I want to stress the marketing supervisor. I'm not the IT department, but I'm no expert on gaming either, although I am a casual gamer. The GigaZone Gaming Championship is a gaming event that we started 3 years ago. It really, as far as my recollection, the onset was about 4 or 5 years ago. A bunch of us had seen that the LA Forum sold out in about 3 to 5 minutes of a gaming event for people who were paying money to go watch the best in the world play video games. And that got us thinking about about that gaming aspect and what we might be able to do to reach, one, that audience, 2, create an awesome event for our region, and 3, engage our IT employees in something a little bit different. And boy, our IT department has hit a home run with this event. It started 2 years ago, and the third event was this past Saturday, so it's fresh in my memory anyway. And so to give you a little bit of idea of the event itself, I think we have a video here. Oh, I guess the audio is not working, but this is the TV commercial for the event itself. And basically, all the fun is free. We set up in our Sanford Center, which is a big facility for us, and we set up all sorts of consoles, you name it, PCs, Xboxes, PlayStations, Nintendo Switches, Nintendo Wiis, and we allow anybody to come in and play for free. We've got open gaming, we've got a lot of different tournaments where registration is free, and we've got a lot of cash and prizes for the top winners of each of those tournaments. So that's the premise anyway. And then, I'm not sure if there's a clip. I'm not sure why it's not working audio-wise. Yeah.
You can hear it, it's just not loud.
Yeah, maybe I'll try to turn it up here, but you get the gist of the commercial anyway. This is the TV ad that we ran running up to the event itself this past Saturday. And again, we've got a lot of different tournaments. That's been a highlight. Obviously, we've got a main stage tournament, just like you'd find at the LA Forum, an esports stage where these contestants go up. This year was Overwatch was the game, where it was 3 team members per team, and they were up on the stage in front of everybody, competing for the cash and prizes. that we had it for grabs. That was the main stage tournament, but we have tournaments of Fortnite you might be familiar with. That's a game that really has come into its own in the last 12 months. A year ago when we were planning this event, it was just kind of getting out there. That's how fluid the gaming community is. We changed things up, had to add Fortnite this year. Our tournament had a limit of 150 participants, and it was full within 10 minutes of when we opened the doors, and it could have been a minute had we been able to register people faster. Everybody was lined up to play Fortnite. We had Madden, NFL 19, and you can look at the other games, Rocket League, Smash Brothers, and we line the walls with arcade games. So anybody can walk up and play an arcade game, which adds an awesome visual, but it adds a lot of fun for everyone. From pinball, we had pinball, to Ms. Pac-Man that we might all remember, to Big Buck Hunter, racing games, you name it. We partnered with our local vendor of video games, who's all in to this event, and it's a good time for him because a lot of the resorts in our region have video games, and they return them back. So they're closed for the season, so we're able to get quite a few video games that we line the walls with. And why do we do this? We get the question quite a bit. I mean, there's a combination of things. One, it has an economic impact on our community. We draw from as far away as Chicago. Duluth and Fargo-Moorhead are well represented, so we do draw people into the region. But really for us, it really connects us to what is, in my world, the marketing world, a very tough audience to reach. With mass marketing and the different social out there, it's really difficult to reach the younger demographic, which is, generally speaking, the gaming demographic. So not only are we able to reach them in a pretty unique way, it really is direct with them. It's a great relationship that we've built with these gamers. And they love the event, and I think that's why it's grown the last few years. Word spreads in the gaming community pretty quickly. It also highlights our gigabit internet, obviously. And that's the connection that with gamers, we certainly hear it. It's very popular with gamers, our GigaZone gigabit internet, because of course low latency and high speed is necessary and gives you kind of competitive advantage against those who have high latency and low speeds of internet service where they might be. So it's the ultimate gaming connection of competing online, and a lot of gaming has gone there. It's online. You're competing against others around the world, not just in your living room. So this is a picture of this year, if you can see it. This is from the main stage, esports stage, and looking out into the big crowd. You can maybe see some of the video games that are lining the walls. The monitors you see above are above the Fortnite tournament. So that's people playing Fortnite. And again, it was packed from start really to almost finish. First couple of years, we saw a dwindling crowd about 3, 4 in the afternoon. It starts at 10, goes to about 8. This year, there was no downtime. We were pretty busy throughout. Again, I think this word is spread as to how much fun it is and that there is no catch. That's what we really concentrated on this year, because for whatever reason, I think people thought we'd lock them in a room and make them listen to the GigaZone spiel for an hour. It's not like a timeshare. We let everybody come in and play, and there is no catch. So these are a couple of gamers that were at our event last year, and they're talking about how cool it is to have this GigaZone gigabit internet where in our area. They are from outside the area. And so they're talking about how, one's from Minneapolis, I believe he's from Minneapolis, the other is from the Iron Range that doesn't have access to this kind of internet. And they're talking about how cool it would be if they could get this, and what a disadvantage they're at because they don't have access to it. And they've seen competition against other people from our region, and they've been at a disadvantage for that. So those kind of sound bites you can't buy. And all you had to do is stick a mic in front of them, and they were happy to tell you how great your gigabit network was. And this entire event runs off our gigabit network, which we call the GigaZone. All fiber optic, about 95% of our 5,500 square miles is fiber to the home now, and we're making great progress every year. There's another component that in our realm is important, and that is not only attracting IT staff, but retaining it. These folks have enormous talent, and they're answering a lot of tech phone calls, and they're doing the ins and outs of networking day in and day out. This event has energized our IT staff like nothing I would have imagined. They are all in. They are gamers themselves. They have their own vested interest. And we have seen not only this attract or retain, our current staff, but we've attracted employees that have come to work with us. Last year, I guess as an example, just internships alone, I think we may have gotten 2 or 3 applications. This past year, 15, and they've almost all of them verbatim have cited this event as the reason that they found out about Paul Bunyan and why they wanted to come intern for us. You can see we also have a cosplay contest in the gaming world. That's a costume contest, and that's pretty popular too. You come dressed up as your favorite gaming character. And so, again, this is the main stage, the PCs that line the stage. And again, I've kind of gone over the event details. We've got some great visuals. This year, we had, it just raised it to the next level. Our IT staff, again, has gone all out. So we had, in the Madden tournament, we had artificial turf with the 50, 40, 30-yard line where the computers were on, very football feel in the Madden area. In the Fortnite area, I guess there's a big balloon type thing that's part of the game or something. And it was huge. I mean, a monumental display by the Fortnite area. And it just adds to the flavor of the event and the professionalism. It's just, you walk in and you're blown away by the visuals that you see. And in the gaming world, it's super cool. And the other part of the event that's really neat is the opportunity for the networking amongst the gamers. Because if you think about where people play video games, it's usually in their home, maybe by themselves. If not, maybe a couple of friends sitting on the couch, but maybe usually by themselves playing, people around the world. And so while they have this interest and passion, they don't really connect with people too often, other than online, maybe talking, which is obviously something in the gaming world they do quite often. But this puts them together face to face, and we've seen it. Saw it again this year myself personally. A few people walking up to other people. I saw you here last year. You're big into League of Legends or Rocket League. They connect, and then they follow up with each other after the event and play against each other. So it's also a networking opportunity for gamers. Here's some of the cosplay costumes from this year. Don't ask me who these characters are, but a lot of people got dressed up. It's a good preview for Halloween as well. And again, cash and prizes for everything. We also had virtual reality and Oculus Rift tournament that we had there. So we had plenty of people trying that out. And even in the arcade games, we have tournaments. High score of Miss Pac-Man would have got you a $100 Visa gift card if you got the high score on Miss Pac-Man. Galaga, Asteroids. I loved Asteroids as a kid. And so you don't have to be an avid gamer to come to this. And we stress that. We're going to attract those avid gamers, obviously. But we attract so many people who just have a casual interest or just want to come check it out. And they kind of get the bug pretty quickly to just walk up to a video game and start playing it. Because you can. It's not going to cost you any money. Nobody's really watching you to see if you know what you're doing. My 8-year-old daughter wanted to play a card game. I probably wouldn't have ever put $1 into a card game video game for her to play. But she walked right up and crashed into everything, and it was awesome, and she got to experience it as well. So all ages, as you can see, from young to old. Now, I would play the next story. It's the Lakeland news story that ran last night. Lakeland PBS is our local television station, but I'm not sure if it would work. So you can look for that on YouTube. It's a great story that they did that really visualizes the event and sums up what the reasons why we do it. Community, our IT staff engagement. Our IT staff wrote the software for the registration and wrote the scoring software that people, as they were playing, their scores would appear up on those big screens. So it wasn't just networking, it engages our IT staff and software development as well. And of course, we're year-round social media presence and all the different marketing that we can to throw at this. It had about 3,500 people this year. Each year, we've got about 1,000 more people. So word is spreading, I think, about the event, and it's done exactly what we hoped. If you're an event planner like myself, the first year is always the toughest. We did not have arcade games that first year. I know we walked in right away and said, we should align the walls with arcade games. Quickly added that the following year, and this year they raised the bar another level. I don't know how they're going to raise the bar from this year to next, but that's the challenge they like. So that's a little bit about the GigaZone Gaming Championship. It's in its 3rd year, going to be 4th next year, and it's ever evolving. Who knows what the game will be? Overwatch was main stage tournament this year. Fortnite was really popular, but next year it could be something completely different. In the world of gaming, things change. And that also energizes our staff to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, in the gaming world and keep on top of what's popular. So with that, I'll answer any questions anybody might have. Yeah. That is a game, and I play solitaire too. We are. Yep, and in this event, we really hammer the 218 area code with those interested in gamers. We do a lot of online advertising in this particular demographic. That is our main way of trying to reach them. Of course, we mass market as well. But yeah, we were, and we really concentrated on those with gaming interest in the 218 area code specifically. So I'm glad to hear you saw it. Anybody else?
Is it over MEA by design?
It was over MEA weekend. Well, it's really when our Division I men's hockey team does not play at home, and they're not weddings, because this is in the conference area. It's not in the stadium, but we can't, as a parking, have it during it when there's a big event going on, and that would draw the parking problem. So it happened to be over MEA weekend this weekend, but that's not a guarantee. It was in late September last year and mid-November the year before, so it's on availability of the facility, which is really the only place we can have it when you're drawing that many people. Anyone else? All right, thanks.
All right, and we're very thankful to have the next speaker. Mary's so good. Yeah, for everybody. So I'm excited to have Jake, and you're on the board of RS Fiber, and that's kind of how I mostly know you, but also a farmer. So I was excited that we could have someone come in and talk about precision ags. I think that's fascinating to me.
Thanks, Ann. And thanks, Ann, for having the farmer follow up the marketing professional, by the way.
Anytime, anytime. We'll have a cook-off next, and you can go first.
So, as Ann said, I'm Jake Rickey. I am on the board of directors for RS Fiber Cooperative, but here today I'm representing my farm, which is Rickey Farms. This is a drone shot of my farm. I'm a fifth-generation farmer. It's myself, my dad, and my wife, so it's a family farm. We homesteaded in 1872. We run 900 acres of corn and soybeans, and we also have 7,000 hogs, so across 2 facilities. And this picture also highlights one of the technologies we're using, which is drone technology. So this is what I should be doing today. We're in the middle of harvest right now, and this is our manure spreader. And there's even technology that goes into spreading manure. So here's a picture inside the cab of that tractor. By the way, this holds 9,500 gallons of manure and is roughly 67 feet long. So it feels like a freight train when you get that thing going down the road. Oh, sorry.
No, I get it.
Anyway, here's some of the technology we're using. On the left there, you've got a monitor that gives you auto steer. That monitor also maps where the manure goes and the rate that manure is put down. The box in the center is actually the controller. So there's a valve on that manure spreader where you can control the rate, and it also adjusts the rate based on the speed that you're traveling. And then we have a camera off the back of the manure spreader just to see what's going on back there. So really, at the birth of all of this technology that we're using today started in the early 2000s with GPS technology and guidance systems. And then it kind of naturally evolved out of that into mapping and bringing all of that data into a computer system or your desktop application. And now today it continues to evolve, and much of that data is now going up into the cloud and is integrating together across a lot of different systems. So here's a screenshot from my iPad, and the iPad is in the planter with me. And just to give you an idea of how the precision that we're dealing with, this is a map that shows all the little red dots on there is where the planter missed a single corn seed, and the blue dots is where it put down multiple, and the green is where it was putting down the correct seed in the right spot. So that's how, again, it's sub-inch accuracy. This is what's going on in the cab of the planter. Again, you have the auto steer equipment off to the left there, and that's also mapping starter fertilizer. Down in this, the bottom right of that is the iPad, and on the iPad you can get, of course, your simulation, which is your corn seeds going down. You can also get your spacing. You can also get your speed and down pressure and a lot of those other things that you need to know how well your planter is performing. And then the monitor above that is what controls all that equipment. And then we also have insecticides and things like that, and all of this stuff is mappable and where you can bring it into your desktop application. And here's another example of what you can do with that technology. You tell your planter, I want to plant more seeds here, less seeds there, and no seeds there, and I don't want you to plant where I've already planted, and it all shuts off automatically, row by row, as you come up to the edge of that location. So this is a cloud-based application where you actually put together those maps. You can see this is a satellite imagery of my house there, but the prescription, we call it a prescription, calls for more seeds where there's better growing areas and less seeds. You can see the red where that's sandier soils and not as productive and not as profitable, so you don't put down the resources there, but you put them in where you know that there's going to be a payback. And here is the resulting yield map that comes out of that. So you can kind of see the correlation between your planting map and your yield map. And then we also have access to satellite imagery. So this is using NVDI technology, which is something vegetative index. So it's basically showing your good areas, your bad areas, and where you may need to go out and scout and see what's going on in your fields. So here's another example of what you can do with all this technology. This is a map showing where I've done a starter fertilizer trial. So this is showing where the starter fertilizer went down and where it didn't. And then what you ultimately do is you take your yield map, you put that on top of this, and you go pass by pass, and you compare the passes right next to each other, and ultimately you can get the statistical analysis out of that to see if your starter fertilizer is paying for itself. And here you can see treatment A was with starter, treatment B was no, and ultimately concluded that statistically the same. Now, in a farming operations, you always want to do a trial over several years, so that doesn't necessarily mean that we should pull starter fertilizer right now. There may be a huge payback in 1 year based on the weather and conditions, and no to little payback in other years. But if we continue to do this trial over 3 to 5 years, and we continue seeing no benefit, obviously that's an input cost that we should back away from. Another one of the technologies we use is called grid sampling. So this is a 50-acre field. We go out and we take soil samples, and we do it in 2.5-acre grids. So in a 50-acre field, you're looking at somewhere between 20 and 25 soil samples. You send those samples to the lab. They analyze it for you. They tell you exactly how much phosphorus is in that soil, and all of your other micronutrients, organic matter, pH level, all that fun stuff. And then you get these pretty maps. This one in particular is for phosphorus. So you can see that red area. That's an area where you want to put more phosphorus down, and the green area is an area where you don't need phosphorus. That actually used to be an old cattle yard, right tucked into that little area right there in the high green there, and there's still a remnants of that cattle manure there. And that showed up on the grid system. So this is one of the more exciting things that's coming out of technology in agriculture right now is this satellite imagery, and then they take that data and they integrate it with the weather data, your local weather data, and they provide recommendations. So you've got a chart there, and it shows right in April, May, June. That's when the growing season really took off. That's when the vegetative index went way up, and then obviously here we are in September, October, where it's harvest time and everything is dried down and ready for harvest. And then based on that information as well, they can also do yield predictions. They can tell you when your crop is experiencing stress, either from water stress, from not enough water, or from nitrogen stress, from not enough nitrogen. It can also tell you when to apply nitrogen and at how many and how much. And this is all based off of data collected in the cloud and satellite imagery and weather data. I've got live camera feeds in my hog facilities, and I can actually pull up these videos on my phone and check out what's going on there. We also use it as a security camera system, and you can kind of see who's been in and out of that site and how things are doing there. We've also got hog facilities connected to an internet controller, where this is another example I can bring up on my phone. You can see the temperature inside the barn. You can change the temperature. If need be, you can see which fans are running, how much water they're drinking, how much feed they're eating, all of that information.
The smells from the hog barn come out through your phone too?
Yes, they do. Yeah, you bring your phone into that hot site. It smells great. So in summary, digital technologies allow for more individual and efficient use of agricultural inputs. These promote environmentally friendly practices that amounts to less nitrogen, nitrogen applied at the correct time, the correct amount of phosphorus, and the correct amount of nutrients in the right place, which really creates a win-win for farmers and the environment, because less input costs and more profit margin, or in times like now, less loss, meaning they're not losing as much money because commodity prices are in the tanks right now. So that's it. I'm Jake Ricky, and here's my contact. Any questions? Yeah.
This is better than so on average, what do you see, how does it affect your yield? I mean, I want to say things going up.
Yeah.
Can you give me a figure?
I guess I can't do an exact figure. I mean, so much of your yield is dependent on weather. But I can tell you that it has dropped our seed costs because we've done variable rate seeding. Whereas, when I came into the operation, it was, well, you just pick a plant like 34,000 plants per acre, and that's where you put everything. So it has provided us a lot of savings on the input side. I have seen some yield boosts, but then it's tough to tease out how much of that is weather and how much is Yep.
What's the level of connectivity?
Well, it really comes down to how much frustration you want to have working with all of these tools. A lot of these tools some of these tools are desktop based, some of these are cloud based. But in general, it just boils down to, would you even consider getting into these tools if you didn't have decent connectivity? I know before our fiber came into the area, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to do live cameras in our barns because the upload was so terrible prior to that. So, I mean, we have a 50 megabit connection on our farm via fixed wireless via our fiber, and that's considerably enough. It's quite comfortable. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You likely see the fifth generation learning farming without technology, yes?
It's true, although I had an interesting path into farming.
Oh, okay.
I started farming in about 2010. Prior to that, I was in the East Corps, and I did get a degree from Hammond University. So, yeah, I didn't really start coming to the operation until about 8 years ago.
Okay. So does it make any generational challenges talking to your father, your grandfather, other relatives who, I don't know, did this that instinct, tradition, records?
Yeah. I'm sure that might happen in other farms. I know my dad is all about it. And, yeah.
You didn't hesitate, you didn't say, would you something?
No. No. His biggest concern was knowing that he had a tech advisor like myself on the farm.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so since all of this stuff comes pretty naturally for me, he was more than comfortable with that. Yep.
Tell if Freeman Miller were more effective than sometimes fertilizers.
Right. Yeah, and what it really does is it brings a lot of the science to your farm individually. So, for example, that starter fertilizer trial that I showed earlier, there's a lot of evidence out there that starter fertilizer works. Well, we've got access to all that manure, which creates a pretty high fertility area for our crops to grow in, and which we're coming to realize that starter may not have as much benefit for us because we've already got that fertility there. And what's crazy about that starter fertilizer is I actually saw the 16 rows where I shut it off. You could see the corn was lower and smaller, but that doesn't necessarily translate into yield. You need the yield side of it to tell you whether or not it's actually doing anything. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of incentive for these companies to make it compatible with everything. So you'd be surprised what technology can retrofit together. For example, that one black box is super old technology. It's called a Raven, and that's the controller for the manure spreader. That actually was able to communicate to the newer box, the touchscreen, via serial cable, and so anyway, there is a lot of compatibility there, and there's a lot of workarounds. Yeah. Yep.
Is your equipment GPS calibrated so you don't have to make sure you're driving in exactly the same pattern?
Yeah.
You have the layers down to starter versus field.
Yeah, it's all the GPS is at the foundation of everything, especially when you're working in the field. Our particular GPS for the manure spreader has an accuracy of 2 to 4 inches. There are GPSs out there that have sub-inch accuracy, and then there's your typical WASP, which is 1 to 3 feet or so.
Well, then when you go out there with your seeder or whatever, you just got a calibrated start point so the layers know what to line.
No, I mean it does it all. It converges all on its own. You don't have to go in there and tell it this is where I'm at. And then when you export that map and bring it into the computer, it does it all on its own. Yep. And in the planner, in the iPad, that's actually connected to a Verizon network. So that's uploading data real time. Yep. Any other question? Yep.
So I think you heard about drones and AI, targeting disease and things like that. Have you looked at anything like that?
Yeah, there's nothing as far as I know in the real world that exists right. I know that's under development, and you know, in my personal view of the drone technology is that it's really cool right now, but there's a lot of potential yet that's untapped. Particularly when you start putting NDVI cameras on these drones and can go out there and fly all your fields. There's drones out there that can do that right now, but they're prohibitively cost expensive for us. But yeah, I mean, eventually they're even talking about putting cameras on sprayers and then having multiple kinds of spray that target each individual weed and using a different spray for whatever kind of weed you're hitting. That's all under development, but nothing. I mean, I couldn't guess as to when that's actually going to hit the market.
Anyone? Question for anyone?
Awesome, thank you. My new favorite line is that broadband is good for spreading manure. Do with that what you will. So I want to thank the final panel. Thank you. It was super interesting, I think, to hear about everything. I have taught from graduate school to preschool, and nobody ever minds hearing classes out early. But we'll all be around if you want to stick around and talk to folks. I think so next. But thank you all for your attention. And I think that the next thing that's on the list here is, I want to see it again. At 5:30, there's a social hour.